The volatility will go down, that for sure, at least until it is settled that whether this ceasefire would hold or not. Right now, sporadic skirmishes are on. Israel says that they will continue to hit Lebanon and they will continue their offensive in Lebanon. Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has said that this ceasefire includes Lebanon as well. Then there are some hints coming on that Iran has made some hits, including in Saudi Arabia, and perhaps it's not confirmed as yet that perhaps it has also hit the East-West pipeline. So all said and done, some skirmishes are on, but the intensity has definitely gone down, and that means that the prices have already begun going down, and they will get still lower, it is anticipated. Now, how lower? That remains a big, big question. And I have a feeling that it won't go down to the levels it was on 28th of February. The reason being that, number one, it will take all the producers some time to get back to the normal output, what they were producing, because some infrastructure was hit. It is not a switch on and off sort of scenario. They will have to rebuild that infrastructure. And once a field is capped, it is often not easy to restart those fields immediately. And sometimes it goes back to normal, and sometimes it doesn't. So we will have to wait where the global output, or at least the output from the Gulf Arab countries, stays once they start to reopen. Secondly, as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan was pretty much 100% dependent on LNG from Qatar. Now, the Ras Laffan LNG field and the LNG infrastructure out there was hit by Iran, and significant damages were reported. Some reports that at least 17 to 20% of output had come to a standstill. There were also some indications that it might take 3 to 5 years to get back to normal. So what I mean to say that the prices have already begun going down. It may go down still further. So don't fill up your tanks right now. Wait for it if the government of Pakistan goes along with that. But I will wait, definitely, yes, here. It will go down here to a certain extent. But at the same time, it may not go back to the levels seen on Feb 28. If the ceasefire collapses, it will go down. It will spike. There's no doubt about it. Because what we are seeing is that for the time being, is just the sentiments have changed of the market. If it is going down, it is because of that sentiments. Supplies have not started to get back to normal. In Pakistan, for instance, we have not started to receive all our oil which was coming previously in normal circumstances. In all the countries, India, Bangladesh, Bangladesh was also quite dependent upon LNG from Qatar. So all said and done, the sentiments have improved. That is the reason that the prices have gone down. But this sentiment is dependent upon how ceasefire goes on. The possibility that ceasefire would hold is there, because it is now pretty evident that Trump or Iran has won, let me put it this way, that Iran has won this round of the battle. For the first time, the world has, to some extent at least, agreed to a hold of Iran on the Strait of Hormuz. And it seems Mr. Trump has also conceded it. So with that sort of scenario, the possibility that the markets are still in a positive scenario, but unfortunately, if at any point in time it restarts, God forbid, it is going to be hell for every one of us. It could even lead to some nuclear sort of thing. Who knows? So let's wait and see for that, how market behaves. But it all depends upon the state of war, whether the ceasefire holds or not. Whatever you see these days, for instance, 65 to 100, it reached 111.12 at a point in time. What was it? it was insurance, and it was geopolitical addition to it. Of course, the supplies got down because of the geopolitics. So geopolitics is ruling the market. In fact, I always say that oil markets and geopolitics goes hand in hand. You literally cannot keep them away. Whatever happens in the market, whatever sentiment builds up, if suppose something happens tomorrow somewhere in the oil-rich region, it may not impact immediately the shipment or supplies, but it impacts the prices immediately. One of the reasons why Mr. Trump was to some extent forced to get onto this deal was that some people were saying that all the oil that was on the seas were getting dried up. Now, during these 40 days of war, now the world immediately needed more shipments. Otherwise, once the shipments that were supposed to arrive, they reach their destinations, there won't be much oil coming over from the Straits of Hormuz. And that would make another spike in all over the world, including the US. Already the prices in the US had gone up from what used to be in 2.9, 2.8 before the onset of the war was, when I last checked up about a week or so back, it was something like approaching 4. And if those supplies that were on seas stopped, the prices would definitely have gone up. Especially with midterm elections, Mr. Trump could not have afforded it. So that's the reason perhaps forced him to get onto a deal. He is a businessman, so he made a business deal. So the geopolitics is definitely involved in it. And whatever you see has been the outcome of geopolitics concerning Hormuz and the passage of oil and other shipments from Hormuz. And mind, it is not just oil. Petrochemicals also go that way. All the shipments from the other side, from the west to the Arab world, to the Middle East, also goes through Hormuz. A considerable portion of it goes through Hormuz. So that was even impacted. So it's not just one way. Of course, oil hits every one of us and immediately, but there are other things as well that was being impacted. So definitely geopolitics and the global markets go hand in hand, sir. It depends upon if these people will keep watching for some time to come. Insurance, you see, insurance is a very significant part of all this trading game. And insurance will keep from everyone would keep on looking at it, keep an eye whether to reduce the insurance premium or not. So that would be one. So all eyes would be focused on whether this holds or not. To what extent Israel holds its firepower. Even in Lebanon, there are reports that US has said also Lebanon, at least some of its spokesperson, perhaps without letting their names on the market, they have said it anonymously that in Lebanon also the fireworks were to stop, but Israel has not at least openly said it and is still continuing with it. So all eyes would be focused on these sort of premiums. And you see, even if everything starts going on, gets back to normal today, it will take at least 20 to 25 days for these oil to reach the destinations. And then it will have to go to refining sector. So refining sector must have dried down in the meantime. Oil flow must have stopped to them. Their whatever the storage they had, that must have dried up. So this will take to build up. So prices will not go down in another 2 to 3 weeks. It will take time, and it will depend upon, as I mentioned earlier, that whether the oil producers are able and to get back to the normal production that was before 28th of Feb. Most probably it won't be, and so the prices getting back to the 60s as it was before the war seems difficult to me in the immediate run. That's a good question. It's very difficult to answer that because it all depends on people don't know the state of infrastructure damage. It has not been revealed very openly, except perhaps LNG in case of Qatar. What has been the state of UAE scenario? What's in Kuwait? What's even in Saudi Arabia? There was a major hit in Jubail on the east coast of Saudi Arabia a couple of days back. So all said and done, this is not very well known. People are just speculating. But I think that there would at least be 20 to 30% of oil that won't be available for shipment immediately. It might take most of the producers some time, at least 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even more, to get back to the normal levels. So don't expect that the prices will get back to normal level immediately. I don't see it happening at all in the immediate circumstances. There are a few things. You see, OPEC, even if it starts to produce more, could they ship it immediately? Will it? You see, they need the infrastructure to get back to normal. It all depends. You see, there was just before getting online, I was looking at it, and there was an input to me that the East-West pipeline taking the Saudi oil from their major production fields on the east side of the country to the west side for using the Yambo port and going via Bab el Mandab or even further to the Cape of South Africa. That pipeline has been hit. Similarly, Israel continues to hit some places. So these skirmishes are on. To what extent this is going to impact would be difficult to, and this brings to question that how stiff and tough the discussions would be if it happens on Friday in Islamabad. That brings to light one basic question, that how dependable are the Arab oil suppliers? If the sort of rift that if it stays between Iran and the Arab oil suppliers, then the world's dependence on Arab oil supply would be a big question mark. So that means the Arab oil suppliers will have to reach a negotiated understanding with Iran to ensure that supplies from Arab suppliers continues. Secondly, when you say is that there's, of course, the Arab oil suppliers had a major tough ball game in this scenario. They were unable to ship as much as they were doing it. But the Russian supplies went up. But the Iranian supplies continued. I'm not sure what is the state of Kharj Island right now, but until yesterday, the Kharj Island, the shipment of Iranians was continuing. So all said and done, Russia and Iran turned out to be a beneficiary, that sanctions were taken off from them and they were able to ship more. And on the other hand, Arab world was able to ship less. So that means a new world energy order is emerging, in which, despite the 42 years or 37 years of sanctions against Iran, Iran is re-emerging as a pivot in the global energy balance today. And that is the major change that we all are witnessing today. It's not just the economists who said it. Initially, it was said by my wonderful friend Fateh Birol of International Energy Agency, the executive director of International Energy Agency, who said that this is the biggest world energy shock, much greater than the 1973 oil embargo. So yes, it is. And had it continued, or if it continues, then the impact on the world you were facing, I am facing, everyone is facing. Now, what would happen? Jobs would go. What would happen? Grocery prices would go. Diesel is going up. Now, virtually all the transportation depends upon diesel prices. So if the diesel prices is going 50%, 70%, 100%, that means that the prices of groceries, every shipment, every supply would go up. And if and when the world dries off whatever oil has been there on the seas, then there would be a scarcity. In Pakistan, you are seeing the 3 or 4 days of week. In Bangladesh, we are seeing it. In Portugal, we are seeing it. In different parts of the world, we are seeing it. In fact, myself here in Toronto, I used to come to the office 4 days. I have now been seriously thinking of coming to the office 3 times a week, so as to save money on transportation. So we would be heading towards a real depression. And if, God forbid, that happens, that was going to be a very bad news for the entire world, not only Pakistan, India, but for the entire globe. It could, definitely, yes. It has always been doing that, the central banks. But you see, the most impacted would be Asia, and perhaps not China to that extent, because they've got tremendous storage capacity and they produce about 4 million barrels themselves, although their consumption is about 9 million barrels a day. And they have been buying oil over these last few months. Whatever was available, they were just storing it. So, and no one knows what their storage capacity is. You know the storage capacity of the US. You know the storage capacity of the OECD countries, but you don't exactly know. It's just a speculation that how much China could store. So China would somewhat be spared, but the Asian countries, Pakistan would be worst impacted. LNG was our backbone in that sense. And this LNG is a big question mark right now from Qatar. India. India has been depending upon Russian oil, and that is a big relief to India that Russian oil continues and they keep on pouring in India. So virtually, but the Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Vietnam, virtually all these countries, Asia would be the worst hit part of the. And then what would happen that these wheels of economy would start slowing down in all over the world. That means the global GDP. There are some indications, I'm not sure, I'm just talking of head right now, that perhaps IMF or some of the major global banks were saying that it would go, the global GDP may turn negative by 1 to 2% if this continues. So we are heading, as I mentioned earlier, too, for bad times. If this continues, definitely we are in for depression, recession and depression. Yes, sir, we are in.